Ladies and gentlemen, sustainability in Cashew is our next session. Our moderator for this session is the director at Fair Match Support for over 18 years and is one of the key pillars behind the SNI platform organization that brings together all actors of the international nut sector. Please put your hands up for Mr. Herman Bosch. Our panelists accompanying Mr. Bosch on the stage this morning will be the Senior Manager of International Sustainability at Aldi Sud Holding, overseeing global corporate responsibility and sourcing strategies. Please put your hands up for Ms. Sally Ann Roach. Our next panelist this morning is the Head of Sustainable Cashew at ETG, Ms. Julie Ludvigen. Our final panelist on the stage is going to be the Director of Processing and Deputy Coordinator of the PPCA at the Cotton and Cashew Council of Ivory Coast. Please put your hands up for Mr. Karim, Berthe. Ms. Sally Ann Roche is joining us online and is already online with us. Our other speakers and sessions chair are here on the stage with us. Ladies and gentlemen, as I hand over this session to our sessions chair, as per his request, we have a reverse timer on. Please use Slido, send across your questions to the sessions chair, and I will see you towards the end of this one.
Thank you very much and welcome to this session on sustainability. I'm very pleased to be here. For me, it's also the first time, like quite a number of ladies that mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. It's also very thrilling. I'm here on behalf of SNI, a platform that is seriously of the industry, small but seriously fast growing at the moment, to see how we can promote and create sustainability in this sector and move to a kind of 3.0 version of the cashew sector in a couple of years from now. I'm very pleased that we have participants, active participants as well in this panel. ETG, Sally Ludvigen is doing this on behalf of ETG, and as well Sally Roach of Aldi Sud. But next to those two partners, there are also some other participants that are very active. I see people from Intersnack sitting over there. I see people from OFI sitting over there. One of the founding partners, if I'm not mistaken, in the back, there's somebody from Daanhauer. And this is just a small part of the 18 companies that are driving this platform. So, and we're about on the end of the show of this conference. But if we recall a little bit, it was already at the start, if I remember a little bit the keynote of Suraj, he was already mentioning that one of the issues for the future, if we talk about 2035, it was sustainability, as he was definitely seeing it. It was also Mr. Mamadou Berthe, who mentioned it a couple of times, and not the last, but the pre-last version of Mr. Louise of the EU was definitely also making it very clear that sustainability, what used to be a little bit of voluntary, if you would like to have it, if you would like to operate in that niche market of fair trade or organic, in the European market is moving to a license to operate. And what we would like to do in this session is walk you through the supply chain and share a little bit what is needed to be prepared for that setting. And I will get to Karim a little bit later because he is not directly in the sector as an actor, as a private sector actor, but he knows quite a bit about sustainability as well. I will get to him. Sally, are you online? Good morning.
Good morning. Hopefully you can hear me well and see me well.
I can hear you well. We're very pleased that you're with us. It's a very early morning in Austria, on a Sunday morning where normally people just enjoy their family life. So we're very pleased that you can join us.
No worries.
Can you hear us well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit more about Aldi? There's a lot of people here that come from all over the world, and some of them might know Aldi, but some might not. Could you explain a little bit what Aldi is about?
Yes, of course. So the Aldi South Group is a globally recognized discount retailer which is committed to quality, affordability and efficiency. So Aldi was originally founded back in 1913, and then in the 1960s it split off into two entities. So I'm here to represent the Aldi South Group, but the Aldi North Group is the other half of the business. Whilst we share common interests, we now operate separately as two different businesses. For the Aldi South Group, we operate across 11 markets, and some of our key markets there would be the UK and Ireland, the USA, Germany, Australia and China, and then some smaller entities across Europe. So kind of our core values centralize around high quality own brand products. So if you are to ever go into an Aldi South store, you will see that it exists predominantly off a private label base. And as part of all of that, sustainability and responsibility are central to our operations, and we want to ensure that we meet the needs of our customers, our employees, our business partners, and the environment around us. SKUs across our range within the Aldi South Group.
Well, knowing Aldi a bit as a European as well, I know that you did not need the new regulations of the EU to work on sustainability. What have you been doing in the past, say, 5 years on this?
So I think it's fair to say that sustainability has always been at the core of the Aldi South business strategy. So as a global retailer, as I've just mentioned, we have over 7,000 stores across the world operating in 11 markets with more than 200,000 employees. So we certainly have a responsibility there. And we take this responsibility to drive positive change. So we believe that sustainably sourced high quality products should be accessible to everybody. And to achieve this, we collaborate with our suppliers, our industry partners and policymakers to make sure that we are promoting responsible business practices. So if we have a quick kind of look into what our global sustainability strategy focuses on, so we have 6 key pillars, I think of which most might not be a surprise. So first and foremost is climate action. So we aim to reduce carbon emissions and improve energy efficiencies across our activities. Packaging and circularity. So as a retailer, we obviously generate a lot of packaging and we want to ensure that we are minimizing waste and increasing recyclability at every possible point. Ethical sourcing and human rights is a non-negotiable for us as the Aldi South Group. We want to ensure that everybody in our supply chain has fair labour conditions, and we operate with responsible procurement. Sustainable agriculture is becoming more and more important, and we want to ensure that we promote responsible practices all the way down to farm level. Animal welfare is also very important, and we make sure that we uphold the strictest welfare standards for animal-derived products. And then last but not least is food waste reduction. So we want to ensure that where possible, we're eliminating food waste across our supply chain. So through these 6 kind of key pillars of the business, we want to ensure that sustainability is integrated into every aspect of our operations, allowing our customers to essentially make ethical and environmentally responsible choices without having to compromise on the quality and affordability of the products that they're buying in our store.
Sally, that is already quite a bit. So, but what did change for Aldi Süd with this new directive of the EU? What did it change for you? Or were you already completely prepared?
No, I don't think anybody is completely prepared. I think if they say they do, they might be telling a small lie. So I think, yes, the sustainability landscape is rapidly changing. And as we see with every new initiative that comes out, the kind of compliance standards are getting higher and higher. Previously, as a business, we were expected to go above and beyond legal requirements because the bar was set fairly low. However, with today's regulations, they're essentially more demanding and driving fundamental change within business operations. So as you've just mentioned, the EU's Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, or the CSDDD, is one of these initiatives that's really kind of highlighting the need for change at a much higher level. So the CSDDD is looking to strengthen traceability within supply chains, improving human rights protections and environmental accountability across global supply chains. So we as the Aldi South Group really welcome stronger legislation because we think it's the right way to go, but what we also advocate for is a level playing field to ensure that this compliance doesn't create a competitive disadvantage. Everybody has to be part of the change and everybody has to pull in the same direction to ensure that this change happens. So as mentioned, sustainability has always been central to our procurement strategy. However, we are now further prioritizing this to ensure that we can keep up with the legislative change and making sure that we don't get left behind, but also more importantly, our supply partners don't get left behind. As I said, we have to work together to ensure that we can all pull together on this. So I think it just shows that legislation is becoming more important, and as you said at the beginning, it's becoming a license to operate. It's no longer a nice to have in the environment that we work in.
But what does it in the end mean in changes in your procurement? What do you have to change? What do you have to adjust? I mean, this is an audience full of suppliers directly involved in the trade, trading with each other already for many years, for decades. What does it change for them? What does it change for you?
So I think then if I'm more specific to the cashew supply chain, as I think that's appropriate for the audience we have today, it's then about through technology, innovation and responsible sourcing, we're actively looking to increase the transparency and responsibility in that supply chain. So I think a word that I hear at least 10 times a day in my day-to-day business is transparency, and this is becoming more and more key about understanding exactly where does the product start and where does the product end, and we all have to work together to make sure that we can trace that product all the way through, so we are accountable as a retailer, as a grower, as all the processes in between, to make sure that we can really take full ownership of that supply chain. And I think that's no small ask in order to trace the product from its very origins all the way to the final shelf in Europe, in America, etc. So this is going to take a lot of hard work from all the actors to really understand what is necessary, and how do we gather all that data, how do we process that data, and how do we ensure we're working in the right ways. So I think, as I said, we're working together with advances in technology and innovation to make sure that we can make this as easy as possible, especially in a supply chain as complex as cashews, because often they're not grown and processed in the same country. It's a very long supply chain, and we need to make sure that we can follow its journey from the very start to the very end, without losing any of that information. So we're ensuring that we work more closely with our supply partners, getting close to the ground, and sourcing from the right people who are also prepared to move forward in this. So I think for the producers, the processors in the room, it's all about making sure that you have that transparency, that you're prepared to engage with retailers such as the Aldi South Group to share that information, to work together and to better the visibility on the supply chain.
Thanks, Sally, for setting a little bit of picture of what is happening in Europe. This is not about Aldi South. This is about all the retailers in Europe. It's about the changes in the market as such. And like you mentioned already as well, it's about moving from voluntary to mandatory. We move further down the supply chain, or maybe a little bit in between, I would say. It's a bit between the farmers and the supermarket. Julie, I think ETG did not needed the CS-DDD to start working on sustainability, isn't it?
Yes, sorry.
You needed it, or you were already working on it before that?
Yeah, we were already working on it before, indeed. So first of all, it's such a pleasure to be here today. I'm heading ETG Cashew Sustainability. And yeah, really looking forward to discussing the evolving landscape of sustainability at the conference. I'm not sure, Herman, if I should go into more details about ETG a little bit for the ones who haven't been here before.
You go ahead.
Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know ETG, the journey started around 60 years ago, back in Kenya and Tanzania, where ETG was actually more known as a traditional trading company, but then since has expanded into other agricultural commodities such as cocoa, soybean, coffee, rice, pulses, and basically the list goes on. So now ETG is actually active in more than 50 African countries and also extended into other businesses such as food manufacturing. We also have logistics, we also have agrochemicals, so that means that the company has really moved from being more a traditional trader to more of an integrated supply chain company. So for Cashew specifically, we source around more than 200,000 metric tons of RCN on an annual basis. So we have factories in Mozambique, in Benin and in Vietnam as well. And what we're really trying to do as a company is address the fragmentation that's very a natural part of the industry through our back-end supply chains and really create that stability and reliability to our clients as well. So because of our on-ground presence, this is really a thing that's been with ETG throughout its history. We have worked a lot on sustainability in the past as well because of our close proximity with our suppliers. But yes, maybe as to your question and more about what we've done in sustainability in the past few years. ETG, there's a particular focus, and that was also echoed by Aldi, is to create more traceability throughout our supply chains by working more directly with our clients, with stakeholders and so forth, to create more transparency around what the supply chains and farming systems are, who are our suppliers and so forth, and really understand what is the kind of impact that we can create locally together with our suppliers. And this means that as part of this process, ETG overall has been able to align its sustainability strategy. So now we have more of a centralized and overarching framework across the entire company that's also backed by a sustainable linked loan, which means that our access to finance is actually completely tied to the progress that we are doing on sustainability as well. For Cashew specifically, we're looking to the business divisions within the company that are really leading the way in sustainability. So we are taking a lot of experience and expertise from our cocoa work, where now within ETG we actually source up to 90% of our cocoa. That's actually sustainably sourced. So we are taking that experience and also applying it to our supply chains in Cashew. And what this means, more practically speaking, is that we are working via our sustainability foundation, Beyond Beans, where we have large teams both in West and East Africa that's implementing programs. One thing also to note is that we are working closely with GIZ, who's also here at the conference today. We've been working with USAID as well to address more social and environmental challenges. So we've been looking into generating value from byproducts. That also was part of last session for Cashew Women, by looking into pilots on biochar and cashew juice production and setting up a daycare at our processing facility to help and empower our female staff in really juggling their day-to-day work with also their household responsibilities. And then maybe finally, which is also a topic that you saw as part of Mr. Suresh Rao's keynote speech, is that we are also looking into the exciting work around carbon insetting and carbon credit markets. And there, what is important to note as well is what we're seeing from our banks, that there's a lot more emphasis on natural habitats and biodiversity as well. So that means that while Cashew, while definitely acknowledged as a type of agroforestry, when we're looking into reforestation efforts, we need to look into sort of incorporating local species as well and so forth. But this is all very exciting, and we're looking forward to the journey as we're expanding our initiatives.
I'm glad you use the word journey, because it sounds like a walk in the park. Whereas I doubt whether it's a walk in the park, isn't it?
No, definitely not. It's been a big journey, but we're very fortunate that, again, ETG has a big presence on the ground, and we have a lot of collaboration within the company to really move forward. And of course, it's been, a huge milestone. The fact that last year we launched the world's first Rainforest Alliance certification. So it has been an extremely exciting journey, also working with key certification bodies within the industry, of developing a standard that actually makes sense for farmers through premium payments as well.
So it's seriously hard work to get there.
Still in our work, for sure, yeah.
Hey, and the new regulation, you mentioned already that in cocoa we are that far. What does it mean for the cashew, your cashew division, so to speak?
Okay.
Do you still have to do a lot, or are you ready to rock and roll, I would say?
No, for sure, we still have to do a lot. But of course, with the upcoming EU legislation, what we're seeing is that the industry is moving much more towards decommoditizing the cashew supply chain, and really looking forward to creating a system where trade and sustainability are treated as two complementary topics, because of course still a lot of companies treat them as two different conversations, where in fact they go hand in hand. But this is of course not a journey or transition that is happening overnight, like you rightly put it, Herman. But with the new EU legislation, we are seeing that there's a fast tracking of this process, because of course sustainability is no longer a voluntary initiatives, but just rightly by the theme of this session, it's becoming more of a license to operate. So you need to meet those requirements to have the right market access as well. And of course, for us, and as part of the journey, it's involved reaching much deeper into our supply chains. We've been working with our stakeholders to really create transparency around what the risks are within the industry. And as just mentioned within cocoa, this is not a conversation that's just relevant to cashew and applicable to cashew. This is developments that ETG has also experienced in the industry within cocoa dating back to 10 to 15 years. And now with the new EU legislation, it's also becoming relevant for coffee and soybean and other commodities where companies are really asked to take responsibility for the social and environmental implications that comes with both growing crops and trading and processing, etc. But maybe one thing I wanted to mention that's also extremely interesting at an EU level is the fact that we're also seeing consumer demand evolving in the landscape of sustainability in the EU. And they're also in parallel with legislation requesting for more sustainability, so more ethical supply chains. And there's a particular focus, like what Aldi mentioned, around the carbon footprint as well. And this is, of course, becoming an important topic because agriculture accounts for around a quarter of global greenhouse gas emissions. So that's why we're also seeing already, prior to EU legislation, that companies in the EU are making a deliberate commitment to becoming carbon neutral by 2030. And for cashew in particular, what I've seen is that it's definitely, there's definitely a lot of focus around transport and logistics to reduce carbon emissions. And there it's been, there a lot of the focus for cashew companies have been immediately say, let's try to reduce our emissions by processing in Africa so we can directly transport to Europe. And while this is, we're definitely looking forward to that journey as well. It's important to note that that's just part of the carbon journey. So maybe, yeah, as a final point, what's important to be considered here is that we still need much more data and risk assessments because, yeah, while shipping companies, of course, contribute to pollution, it's only, you know, they transport more than thousands of products, so the emissions only count for a small part of the footprint. And we also have this scalability and efficiency in Vietnam. That means that the carbon footprint is lower when we compare it to our operations across Africa. But I think generally with the EU legislation, we're seeing conversations around sustainability becoming much more structured. But I can see that the time is running out, so I'll give the word back to you.
But I still have one last question, but then with a short answer, because I think what you're mentioning is very important, because probably that will be one of the key additional drivers as well for this whole setting. So I think what you were adding was very important. If Sally was using the word level playing field, as you have been working as ETG already on sustainability before, Does it help the new directive as well, that it becomes for you as well a level playing field, so that you also realize it's not only us that have to do the work, but others, if they would like to keep working on that market, have to do the same? But does it help?
I think so, yes, because now there's a lot more focus in the industry of really understanding like what are the risk assessments that are required, and then the important part going forward is distributing those learnings across the industry to make sure that we have the right conversations and we prioritize first of all the supply chain challenges, and then we can move forward to carbon as well. But I think ETG is part of the Sustainable Nut Initiative as well, and there we are seeing that more companies, because of legislation, is coming together to really develop solutions and help each other navigate this. So definitely becoming a level playing field.
Thanks, Julie. So we had the final market where we all are selling our final products. We had the ones who are moving it between the farmers and the final market. Karim, probably the audience is a little bit questioning what does a regulator in the cashew industry doing in a session on sustainability? Because in fact the CCA is more busy with what are the rules and regulations, how to structure the cashew industry in Ivory Coast. Do you do anything about sustainability? Can you, because your DG was mentioning something as well this week, but I'm a little bit, I'm not confused because I know probably what you're going to tell, but I can imagine that quite a part of the audience is saying, what is the CCA doing with sustainability?
Thank you, Herman. Since we are short of time, I think I will I will do it straight in French. So I beg you, if you could have your headset, it will be easier for me. Bien. Qu'est-ce que le Conseil du coton de l'anacarde, qui est un régulateur, fait dans la régulation, dans le développement, comment on appelle, sur les questions de durabilité? Il faut savoir déjà que le Conseil du coton de l'anacarde en Côte d'Ivoire a aussi le rôle de suivi, le rôle de régulation, mais surtout le rôle de développement des filières coton et anacarde. Donc c'est dans ce sens que toutes les actions qui ont été menées depuis 2014 ont porté la filière au niveau des performances qu'on connaît, en termes de production, en termes d'amélioration de la qualité, mais aussi en termes de développement de la transformation. Aujourd'hui, nous avons vu les mouvements, les transformations qu'il y a dans le marché et la demande qu'il y a au niveau des consommateurs occidentaux, américains, sur les questions de durabilité. Donc le Conseil du coton de l'anacarde ne pouvait pas être en reste. Surtout que nous avons compris, et je pense que cela procède du bon sens, cela va dans le bon sens, de dire que plus la chaîne est courte, je crois que ça a été mentionné ici, ça a été mentionné durant tout, plus la chaîne est courte, mieux c'est pour le consommateur final et mieux cela sera pour le développement, comment on appelle ça, pour assurer la durabilité. Et c'est dans ce sens, comme notre DG l'a mentionné, nos ambitions de transformer localement ont été, comment on appelle ça, ont été affichées. Il s'agit de transformer à peu près 50% de nos volumes localement pour desservir directement les marchés demandeurs, les marchés consommateurs, les marchés européens, les marchés, comment on appelle ça, américains. Et ces marchés-là sont sensibles à un certain nombre de questions. Question de l'empreinte carbone. Il est facile de remarquer que produire en pays producteur et l'envoyer en pays consommateur, c'est beaucoup plus simple que de produire, transporter dans un autre pays, transformer pour être chaud. En termes de traçabilité, on perd beaucoup en le faisant. En termes d'empreinte carbone, cela augmente l'empreinte carbone. En termes de, j'allais dire, de fraîcheur, de qualité du produit. Donc c'est tout à fait normal que le Conseil du coton de l'anacarde s'inscrive dans cette dynamique-là pour soutenir le développement de, comment on appelle ça, ces questions de durabilité. Donc on est tout à fait dans notre rôle.
Aha, so I read the same story. If I hear well, I hear the same story in a different way.
Yeah.
So most of people think I'm going to stimulate transformation in my own country to add value, but you also say, hey, no, this is also meaning that we use less carbon.
Yeah.
Aha.
Okay.
And that is the same for traceability.
Yeah.
The probability, probably a lot of people will say, well, that is control of the government.
Yeah.
I'm playing. But you can also use it in a way of, no, but now we know more and more where we are sourcing from. Is that correct?
Non, vous avez tout à fait raison. Transformer un pays d'origine, ce n'est pas seulement ajouter de la valeur. On ajoute de la valeur pour la chaîne de valeur locale, comme on appelle, pour nos acteurs locaux. Ça, on n'en disconvient pas. Mais c'est cela aussi être en conformité avec les questions de durabilité dont on parle. Si on veut être en conformité avec les questions de durabilité, je pense qu'il est difficile d'être plus en conformité que de transformer un pays d'origine. Donc, pour nous, cela procède de la logique pure et simple de dire qu'on produit, on transforme là où on produit et on commercialise là, comme on appelle là où cela doit être consommé. Ça résout la plupart des problèmes de durabilité qu'on se pose. Et d'ailleurs, pour enclencher sur les questions de ce matin, sur la durabilité, et notamment sur les nouvelles directives européennes, vous savez que nous n'avons pas attendu que ces nouvelles directives-là soient, comment on appelle ça, soient énoncées pour pouvoir entamer un certain nombre de démarches. D'ailleurs, il y a quelques années, nous avons commencé à travailler avec l'EFA, et je crois que Bob est là, il a fait beaucoup de missions chez nous, avec l'EFA aux États-Unis, pour qu'on puisse s'assurer que toutes les unités de transformeurs qui sont installées en Côte d'Ivoire soient en conformité avec les directives américaines pour les produits alimentaires. Et dernièrement, quand l'Union européenne a commencé à parler de, comment on appelle ça, de nouvelles directives sur la durabilité, nous avons, avec l'aide d'ailleurs des Pays-Bas, une ONG, la CNV aux Pays-Bas, qui est venue en Côte d'Ivoire, qui a, comment on appelle ça, audité notre système de production et de transformation et qui a fait ressortir le gap qu'il y a entre nous et les nouvelles directives. Et fort heureusement pour nous, il se trouve que nous avons une, j'allais dire, convergence de vues avec ça. Et donc, ces nouvelles directives, comme on appelle ça, apparaissent pour nous aujourd'hui comme étant une vraie opportunité pour nos pays producteurs pour rapprocher nos unités de transformation, en tout cas nos produits qui sont faits en Afrique, des marchés qui sont des marchés demandeurs. Et c'est là, nous comptons travailler là-dessus pour pouvoir profiter de cette opportunité-là pour que la nouvelle directive ne soit aucunement un problème pour les produits qui sont faits en Afrique.
Thank you, Karim. Last question. If I hear all the things that the CCA is doing, if I hear all the things that companies like ETG are doing, I think if I hear what Europe wants and what the final retailer, I'm looking at Sally as an example, wants, it means also that it's wise to every now and then sit together to see how we could jointly make it more easier for everybody that we walk in the same direction. Is that correct?
What do you mean?
I said it's a final question. If we realize that the CCA is also heading for a sustainable sector in Ivory Coast, if we realize that companies are trying to find their own way, realizing that the market wants it, maybe it's also good to one moment to sit down and see how we can jointly strategize and support each other. Is that correct?
Bien sûr, en fait, le CCA est tout à fait dans son rôle d'accompagner le secteur privé. Hein. Vous verrez que le secteur privé en Côte d'Ivoire, je crois qu'ils l'ont mentionné suffisamment ici, nous apportons une aide à tous les transformateurs qui sont installés en Côte d'Ivoire. Donc, être avec des transformateurs ou des acteurs privés comme ETG, comme d'autres qui sont dans la salle ici, je cite ETG parce qu'elle est à côté de moi, c'est tout à fait notre responsabilité et nous en avons conscience. Et c'est très courant que nous le fassions. Et en Côte d'Ivoire, vous verrez que c'est pour cela que nous souhaitons que des transformateurs d'ailleurs viennent s'installer en Côte d'Ivoire, en tout cas en Afrique, pour pouvoir transformer. Et je voudrais juste préciser une chose, hein, Herman, quand nous voulons transformer en Afrique et on dit qu'on va transformer 50%, 60%, véritablement cela n'est pas contre la stratégie d'un autre pays ou d'une autre région. Ça procède de la logique. Parce que ce que nous demandons, c'est que ces transformateurs qui sont ailleurs, au lieu de prendre le produit fini en Afrique pour aller ailleurs, aller le transformer, qu'ils viennent le transformer et qu'on puisse tous ensemble développer les chaînes de valeur locales. Il y ait de la valeur ajoutée, qu'il y ait un revenu décent pour nos producteurs, qu'il y ait une consolidation des chaînes de valeur, qu'il y ait une meilleure valorisation des produits à l'origine et qu'on soit de plus en plus en conformité avec ce que les pays consommateurs demandent. Donc le fait que le CCA soit avec les privés ou, les partenaires techniques, c'est tout à fait logique et nous, on est habitués à cela et nous, ça fait partie véritablement de notre conception de la collaboration entre l'État, les représentants du gouvernement et le secteur privé. Et c'est notre boulot au quotidien.
I think that is a good way to end this session. This was a session on that sustainability becomes a license to operate. And for those who are in it, they already know what kind of journey that is. And for those who are thinking about it, they might think of, oh no, not again. This reminds me a little bit on the food safety issues 10, 15 years ago. But those ones who take that into consideration, they also realize that in fact, food safety regulations improved your businesses. It seriously improved your businesses because there's less defaults, less claims, so in the end, it made money for you. If you do sustainability well, if you know where you source from, if you use your data, if you use all those things, you can improve your business. Yes, it is an investment, but it can improve your business. So walking that path on sustainability, it might also be not only a license to operate, but also a license to professionalize your business. I would seriously thank you, Sally, for being there in this early morning, and hope you have a good Sunday, the rest of the Sunday. Julie, thank you very much, and Karim as well. Thank you very much.
And thank you to you, Mr. Herman, for steering this session for us. Thank you, Madam Sally, for joining us online. May I request Mr. Herman to present a memento to both our speakers.